And hello. I'm Dan Lutz, and welcome to another broadcast, May 13th. Monday for me, maybe Sunday for you if you're on live. I appreciate everyone that's jumping on here with me and Tank. Dan and Tank together makes Dank live. I did speak with Tank a little earlier today and got disconnected. All fun and games, right? So we're just cruising along, making things happen, and things are happening. I got a little delayed because I lost track of time. I do apologize. I got on here about 10 minutes after 9. I was writing a letter to a friend of mine in South Africa that used to run the post office of South Africa. And also, very influential person. But I wanted to speak with him because there is a meeting being scheduled to talk with the president of South Africa, or they're trying to arrange that. And so, anyway, I started writing that letter to him because I want to coordinate with him and talk about South Africa and things of that nature. It's just to kind of get a feel for maybe what how the purpose of this is related to TBC coin. I'm using TBC as a means of exchange in South Africa. Now, we did have a meeting with some Liberian leaders. I did not speak to the senator that we were supposed to speak of. I think that's just been too much chaos in the way it was set up to work from a very big group meeting, which the senator was in attendance. And after those groups break up, trying to get to a separate call. After that, he was trying to make his way over to, I guess, but the city mayor got online. But it was still a very difficult conversation. Not the best place to have a call, but I'm sure we're going to proceed because it is it's the next country that is getting big with TBC Kringle coin. But there's other African countries. I mean, in Nigeria, we have 1.5 million members, and there's trade shows, trade fairs going on, events where people are trying to come together, make their own economy, and use TBC as the medium of exchange. When you don't have any other money, and you have this money, and it's stable, and it actually is increasing in your wallet, even if you're not using it, it's kind of still going up. You get like, oh, well, okay, well, let me spend some. But you have to. It takes a while to build an economy, and what that means is you have to actually complete the loop. right? There is a loop of information that needs to not information of the economy that has to be complete, because you had the people at the front end buying things, right? But it's the merchant that is selling the things. He has to be able to take that same medium of exchange and exchange it with the manufacturers. And the manufacturers have to be able to pay their laborers. Right? So the laborers can then take it and go and buy from the merchants, complete the circle. So it takes time to establish that. And this is something that is growing because it is a different system. It's not a market-based coin. Everyone looks at the market as being the legitimate place in which everything has to go from. And the thing is it's so manipulated. It is not reliable. It is no more than a casino. You have a situation that's designed for the markets to make money and there to be losers. Some winners and a lot of losers. That's how the markets make money. So it is a casino. So we have the ability now to look at things much differently. We have technologies that allow us to look at the world and say, how do we make it a better place? Let's not base it on the whims of a market and whether they want to push it up or push it down. Let's base it on an algorithm based on how many, in this case with TBC, how many members join. The more members, the more value. Simple, right? So this is third year of TBC / Kringle coin, and it is making waves. So I look forward to helping establish that, as a medium of exchange. This is not easy. It is not something to go run down to your local bank and exchange your TBC with. So it's not. It doesn't happen that way. You have to build up a membership. It is not like those others where you can go in and make a bunch of money and run away before it explodes, right? It's not about that. So anyway, I'm sorry, that's why I was delayed. So anyway, I hope to be speaking with my friend there in South Africa, and I have other friends. I know. Hello, Lawrence, if you're watching. Lawrence is my other friend. We can also talk about this as well. So there are a lot of things happening. So let's maybe dive in a little bit. I did finish listening to Thomas's last show and picked up a few things along the way, what he was talking about. I really appreciate Thomas and his and the way he lays out things, and I get a lot of really great information from that. But to kind of think about this, where we saw this change happen, where the trust basically just blocked all access. They tried to do deals with the Treasury. They tried to do deals with banks. At each time, the trust was basically, the agreement was not honored, and the trust escalated what they were doing. More pressure on the system. They now had, well, they also they basically created two more security levels above everyone else, and then moved everything up there, and everyone down here used to have access. They no longer have access. And then they started stopping things from flowing, and information from going to other places, that it shouldn't need to go to, but all these stops along the way so that they could all make money off of it by leveraging it. And as he said, sometimes it was 50 to 10,000 times to one. Now, it's supposed to be 10 to 1, and I do know that there was some things where they had exchanged. I've heard this a while back that they made it 30 to 1. I never could confirm that. I never really dug into it. But 10,000 times to 1. That's why the system is so overly leveraged, right? So this QE effect, right? As soon as we start doing the QEs, right, that happened because they couldn't draw down asset. They, in essence, created money without backing, without drawing upon asset. Why? Because it was shut off. So we have a system now that's been in shock. Right? It now finds itself realizing that there's a new manager had taken over. The sub companies never knew that there was this other owner above this owner above this owner. And so now there's a new manager, and they're having problems, realigning their thought patterns with what's been going on. But there was some big movement. The Pentagon came online, and as of last Thursday, that also became Patrick Shanahan, that also is going to now work with the trust. And coincidentally, I know that I had done when Tank first said this, he said that he needed to fix that, because it wasn't that Patrick Shanahan was working. He said for the trust. He said with the trust. Now, actually, on Thomas's show, he also said with and for the trust. I think he meant for the benefit of the trust, meaning that it would be an ally. Again, I'm taking some my own interpretation of what was said, saying that I could be wrong, but I think that's what the gist of things are. So, but this is a major step, right? So on Thursday, Patrick Shanahan comes on. Now we're only into the beginning of the new week, right? What is going to happen this week? That's the question, because everything seems to be lined up at this point to where money should be able to flow into the projects. I pray that this is the week that it all happens and we can all move forward, because there's a lot to do. We really need to start building so that we never have the crash. Let's consider this the low point of the world economy, not near the bottom, but already changed around and moving forward. Not everywhere, but the descent has stopped, and we already have been climbing back up. But as we climb up this time, we build a system that's not based in greed, not based on interest, which always leads to inflation, which is another tax. And I know when I heard, for example, that interest is tax, it's not something that I caught a hold exactly what that meant when it was said. I kind of understood it, but it wasn't so clear when it was first said to me years ago. But it is a tax, and it basically is basically removing more from you. The idea of money as a medium of exchange is meant to do one thing, and this is why it was useful. It represented an amount of your work, your effort, and it was contained in this small unit that could be easily sent between people for an exchange on things that were unlike good. So, for example, I have a chicken and you have a cow. Can we exchange? You want chicken and I want cow. Well, I can't give you my one chicken and expect you to give me a cow, because you're going to say, well, that's not enough. You want, 100 chickens. And you can say, well, I can't give you a leg of the cow, right? Plus, I want a whole cow. Anyway, I want to get the milk, whatever. So we need to have a medium of exchange that, let's just say, for example, 100 units. You could give me 1 unit of this money for 1 chicken. And I can give you 100 units for the cow. Now, we've just exchanged a cow for a chicken using a medium of exchange. Now, I have less of these units, right? And you have more of those units. But I also have a cow. And I can go and milk my cow and make some cheese and sell my cheese back to you in units of, say, 20, or say just 1 unit for a piece of cheese, whatever. So this is a medium of exchange. That's the purpose of it. But once you charge interest, now that 100 units that was used is now let's say I borrowed that 100 units. So I went and I got 100 units, and now I bought my cow. So, but I owe 110 units in interest. Where's the 10 units come from? Well, that's more of my labor. That's more of myself I have to give to create that, right? So that's the tax. When it comes into where it's at the government level, that interest becomes the tax, because it has to come from somewhere. Someone has to give it themselves, and when I do that, I don't get anything in return. So that's where it leaves being money, where it starts being something other than a pure medium of exchange. Now, if we keep it as a medium of exchange, where it's just free and open to exchange, no limitations, you just do it. It's the medium of exchange. In today's world, they've added on top of this tax restrictions and conditions and how you can do this and where you can do this and how much you can do. And if they don't like it, they don't allow it to happen. This is no longer money. This is a control system to control the population. And this is why we can't charge interest, because it leads to we're not using money anymore. We're using currency. And with rules and regulations based around maritime law and statutes and everything else, we go down that road. Now, we have to recognize that we're living in that world, and we have to interact with that world. But we can come up with a system that allows us to build an abundance-based system that is a free exchange of medium of exchange that we're using. In exchange, we sometimes have to exchange with that other system. But there'll be an alternative. There won't be the one system. And what will happen is, and I'm very confident of this, is over time that other system will just shrink into nothingness. But it also means we educate people, and people understand what that system is and how it functions and what it means to them. Even down to what it means when you had a birth certificate entity created for you, and how you're supposed to be the beneficiary of this, and you end up volunteering to be the one paying all the bills, the trustee. So the understanding of how these systems work are also very important of education for everyone. And that means everybody. It just takes time to educate. And we need to have that focus as part of what we're doing. I wonder, is Tank having a problem getting on? Let me try to reach him. He's trying to get on, but he's being blocked from everywhere. Let me see if we're doing it this way. Hello.
I'm here, hang on.
The new normal.
Hello?
Hello. Can you hear me?
All right. I can.
Okay. This is the new
What's
normal.
going on? Happy Mother's Day.
Well, thank you. I appreciate. Happy Mother's Day to you too.
Thank you.
Yeah. I still haven't reached my mother. I've called a couple of times, and it just says unavailable. So, I wish you happy Mother's Day, Mother. Say again. And the line is going down, down, down.
Oof.
There, you're back.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry. What did you start saying?
Oh, I was just wishing my mother happy Mother's Day, and let's just start off. Any updates for today? I was kind of going on kind of a little bit of a kind of a recap of Patrick Shanahan coming on board and what does that mean to us, and that this is a good week coming up.
Well, I hit up Kim this morning to tell her Happy Mother's Day. She is a mom, and at about 8 o'clock this morning, so it was about 6 a.m. her time, and she was already working in the system. And she told me she was getting ready to try again, which means it's good that Patrick Shanahan is on board, but she's not relying on that method of transport to clear funds. She is still focused on getting funds with absolutely no human interference. So I know that, and that doesn't mean that she won't transfer, via the Pentagon. I just don't know. I don't know yet. But just to speak her praises, bankers, like in banking hours, the way they do things, they certainly aren't working on a Sunday morning. Just to give you an idea of the difference between the old way, and the people's way. Kim is very much, anybody out there like knuckleheads who want to call her cabal, while they're on ski trips and while they're, meandering about, playing polo or whatever it is that they do, Kim is busting her hump to get everybody free. So, anyways, just wanted to throw that out there. That's very good, exciting news to me.
Yeah, it's kind of, you just reminded me of remember you had once said that you were waiting for the RV with a bunch of people, and Kim told you that they were out skiing. Whoever was supposed to be making this all happen, they were all having a good time skiing and laughing about everyone waiting for the RV.
Well, what's really interesting is in that time, every day I would speak to the historians who proofread and edited all of the documents for the United Nations, for the OMD. I don't know why I'm that confused. Yeah, and they were like, they had very, very official positions that they played for them, right? And they were very actively involved in the GCR, the Global Currency Reset. And they were the first ones kind of explaining to me, because I guess I always had it confused, like the RV and the GCR were just slightly different, but I didn't see them as different events. I'm like, it's the same thing. You're still revaluing the currency, right? Mm-hmm. So they explained to me at that time how the Chinese were kind of like the showpiece, right? And they were the ones who were out in front, the Chinese elders. But the real weight behind the elders were the Indonesian elders, right?
Right.
And they were the ones that went to some court, and they wearing their sandals and how humble they were, right? They also told me the story about when the person that brought them in went and offered to represent them to the Western world. That when they went there, they pulled out a flag and they unwrapped the flag, and inside the flag was a revolver covered in blood. And they said, "If you betray us, we will shoot you in the face with this gun." I was like, they don't sound quite that benevolent. But also in that time, what was interesting is they kept telling me that it was the Treasury that was blocking us, right? So I literally identified certain people in the Treasury and I was outing them, right? So as they would, they were telling me exactly the names, and I would put that information out to put them on blast, because I was dealing with the White Hats. The White Hats were trying to figure out who's stopping it, who's the problem. So I would get the information from the White Hats and I would give it to them, and then I'd put it out publicly, right? And no matter what they didn't want me to put out, I would put it out publicly because General Dunford told me, he told me, go ahead. He said, put everything out. He said, you'll never lose intel. Because, we used to think this way, like I'll get private secret intel, right? And then I don't want to burn my sources, right? Because they'll never give me intel again. But it wasn't true. The more intel I put out, the more they gave you, And then I realized the reality is that they're putting it out. They don't care what goes out, right?
Mm.
The only reason why I started to get in trouble is I started to put out both sides of the intel. And then all the people who were like, they thought they were very important, like Michael Cottrell and, people like that. Like the Admiral. I mean, I got horrible phone calls. I got threatened by the Admiral security team, right? They were allegedly going to come after me because in this time somebody started texting the Admiral, right? And they texted him 232 times in one night, right? And they kept saying to him, "This is Tank. Do this." They kept texting him all these things about Tank, right? So they were threatening me, right? And I said, the gentleman who told me, I said, listen, let me ask you a question. I go, aren't these guys supposed to be like the top intelligence in the world? Don't they have access to check my phone records? I'm like, I never texted the Admiral. I don't care about that guy. Not once. I'm like, so they were threatening that they were going to take me out because of what I had done to the Admiral. They were defending him. And I was like, please, get over yourself, And then, but so interesting because then when I started talking to Kim and she told me that she said, look, they're not coming. That was like the very first time I talked to her. She goes, look, Mnuchin is up in the Alps skiing. That's what they do this time of year. They don't care. And at that time, I was so focused on the urgency of the RV going, right?
Right.
It made me so mad to think, you could have let the RV go, but you didn't let the RV go, right? Because you didn't. Now, what happened is, you're up on vacation because you figure you'll take care of it when you get back. And that's how the intel would go, right? Something would happen. They said, we'll just wait. And that's what it seemed like. Like they were just the most lackadaisical, we'll get it done next week kind of people all the time, right? But then I realized after talking to Kim long enough that they never intended to do it. And when they did do it, we weren't even a concern because they never intended to let us have any money.
Right. That was, I mean,
what they would do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, what they would do is they'd probably give us an SKR, some small, bite before they crash the economy. But then we had a guy in our group, right? And he, his, movie producer friend, right, was like best friends with Steve Mnuchin. So he went over to Mnuchin's house and asked Mnuchin about the Zim, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Just like totally played dumb. So trying to make us all look stupid, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just had to laugh because that guy who gave me that connection, right? He tried to buy the Dodgers a few years ago, and he was trying to lecture me on leadership and how I was leading people in the wrong way. He said, I don't know what I'm doing. He was, I've been a leader. You don't know what to do. And I'm like, just because you had 10 million followers on Facebook doesn't mean you were a leader. It just means that you're a sideshow. So get over yourself.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, I can see that thinking that they were going to give out a little bit and just allow the whole economy to collapse while it was going on. I can see that, but I think that the mass dumping of currencies is also everyone running around trying to buy airplanes and everything, causing the prices to go up across the board. Is would be an important part of that. That's what I was always thinking. It's like, how is this going to happen? With all this money coming onto the market, everyone's going to want to have buy islands and buy cars, and everyone's buy, right? And then and then everything is going to go up and get expensive. And then I knew everyone is like. Unless I do know that there's going to be people that are going to want to wash dishes. There will be. There are people out that like washing dishes. That's like part of their thing, right? They enjoy it. I'm not one of them. I do my dishes, but I can't wait to get them done. There's people that say, "Well, yeah, I'll do your dishes too." So there's always going to be those people, and there's always be people that are going to want to find meaning in helping other people, and that may include, flipping burgers. So I wasn't really so worried that we're not going to have all of those jobs filled because, the rate will go up, right? You can't find enough people to work. You raise the amount you're going to pay. Eventually you'll find people are going to want to do it. Anyway, it would work its way out. But I was really worried about, how are they going to keep it from collapsing? And I thought, well, they're just going to, after, eliminating the debt, because I figured that it's such a big amount coming out on the market, they can pay off that debt because they make it so small. If the debt was one quad and you basically put out 100 quad, it's only 1%. The debt is gone. Boom. So then they could pull it back, right? And that's what I thought was going to happen. But again, that's just me trying to figure out what may happen. How could it possibly be like this? But I don't see that that was really what they were going to do. I did find out how they were going to balance it out. I understood the formula. I know what they were going to do, but still, it just left more questions. So,
well, I think like this too. Like, how could you? No one would need your help, right? If everyone had money. So the most valuable asset on the planet would become people that were willing to work.
Well, we actually we have a super rich class of a few million people, and then we have 7 billion that are not rich, right? But start getting money.
Think about the people who would have got money. They would have been given money out everywhere.
Sure.
Everybody would have been a millionaire. Everybody would.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, I got it, but
it would have been useless as a millionaire. No one would care. There's this movie. It's like a really great. I think it's a Pixar Films movie, right? And it's called WALL-E, right? It's this little robot. He's a scavenger robot.
I like
left on Earth.
Yeah, that was a great little movie. I liked that when it came out.
Oh, great flick, right? But remember the people? Everybody just became these fat people that pushed around in chairs, right?
They were floating, anti-gravity chairs, and they floated around. Yeah, just eating, and their exercise routine, was how fast they could eat. I guess.
It was terrible. It was like that's kind of what I think they wanted from us, right? To become these, it's kind of like the Matrix. Literally, we'll just plug you into a world that you think is real. Right, you'll create all the energy we need. Whenever we want to, terrorize you, we'll just, throw some horrible image into your world. It's like then we're just constantly, existing as batteries for them.
Right. Yeah, fear pumps.
Fear pumps. Oh my gosh, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. Pump us for fear so they can, grab some extra nutrients. Push down on that accelerator. Get more fear out there.
Yeah.
Well, now we're creating a whole new world that has no fear. Well, at least the fear is fleeting. Fear is natural, but it should be gone momentarily, right? It's just enough to alert you to get to do something, right? Get your adrenaline going so you can defend yourself. There's a purpose for it. It's not meant to, be on full throttle.
Yes, yeah, you should be on continuous fear. It's like some of these drugs. I was, talking about some of these people today. You have a drug called a sulfonylurea, right, for diabetes, and basically what it does is it causes you to have a constant, secretion of insulin, right? So the biggest fear of this is hypoglycemia, right? All of a sudden your blood sugar will just drop because if you haven't eaten anything, you don't really need, insulin to, have your blood sugar drop. And then eventually it just causes beta cell failure, right? But it's just always dripping. I'm like, that's that's like their ideal way to like have things work with fear. Just constantly being secreted, and we're constantly just at any moment we can just drop from it, just enough to keep us alive.
Yeah. Well, I think we're done with it. Fear is something that you can deal with. You just have to know that when it happens, you've got to take action, and you got to figure it out: fight or flight. You got to do it. You're going to run from it, or you're going to fight it. I'm all into fighting it.
Hey,
head on.
No retreat. Not now. Now we're about to take the hill. Yeah,
we go to Buzz Lightyear.
That's right. Yeah. So, but again, for everybody who was waiting for the GCR or the RV, they were happening simultaneously right now. For the past 2 weeks, they've been happening simultaneously right now.
Right.
I just feel like we should probably question that. It's okay to be like, I don't know if right now means the same thing to us as the various people reporting on it. Seems kind of like, like when I say now, I actually mean now, like right now. Like I'm not talking about like, now in the etheric planes of the galactic,
Lost signal. And I was just queuing up Restored Republic via the GCR from May 10th.
Via GCR update as of May 10th, 2019. Below is a summary of information from the internet. It would be up to the individual reader to do their own research and decide whether or not it is valid. Patience is a virtue. Having virtue is a sign of a good moral being. Good moral beings have the power to overcome evil and change the world.
Now, of course, this is the start of this every time, and that's a nice introduction.
May 9th, 2019, the big call. Bruce, thebigcall.net.
Wait.
712-770-401.
Oh, okay. You're back?
Here. Let's address that.
Go ahead.
First of all, the idea of righteous virtues, they come as opposition to the 7 deadly sins. They were created by the Catholic Church, and every one of them is a control mechanism. They're telling you to be patient. They want, patience is a virtue. Be patient, because they want you to wait and wait and wait. And the hospitals are filled with patients. The hospitals are filled with patients, and they love word games. It's one of their many, many games, right? To tell you it's so virtuous to be patient. So sorry.
Oh my goodness! My goodness, I'm one of the most patient people I know.
Well, look, some people got it. I just don't agree.
Maybe I have to stop being patient. Okay, I'm done. I'm done being patient. Okay. I said I have enough patience to lend some to Job.
Well, if you see something working, and you're watching your kid really try hard at getting something, they're not getting it, and you're patient, that's a wonderful quality. Yeah. But the way they're using it, in reference to the GCR, how is being patient while a bunch of stuff is going on that you have no idea what it is? Nobody gives you a straight answer. You're being mocked publicly for being involved in a scam. Meanwhile, every country in the world on the highest levels, they're part of the scam, but they're also being scammed. I mean, it's awful.
Right. Yeah, that's no, that's good. No, that's good. Well, I really appreciate that. So now I see that this is that spell that they're putting out there is to be patient. I just said they begin every episode of Restored Republic via the GCR with that statement, right? So it's part of the spell to put people into patience mode. Okay, let's go.
16 pin 123456 1. Currencies were trading on the bank screens, with rates moving up in value. 2. 6 or 7 codes have been entered. 3. It was dramatically quiet out west. 4. Tiers 1, 2, 3, 4 and B were about to be made liquid near Mother's Day. 5. Could get 800 numbers in the next day or so within hours or days.
just a point. It's like okay, it's near the holiday, right? Oh, it's Mother's Day. This is the time, right? It has to be Mother's Day
to celebrate Mother Earth. Look, I believe me, I've got a reason for why it should happen for every single holiday, every one of them. I got great reasons.
Okay, let's go.
6. Package deliveries resumed around 3 p.m. East today, May 9th. 7. Some Zim groups were being redeemed over the weekend. 8.
Do you know anyone that got redeemed over the weekend?
I know many people who were told to send in signed promissory notes, people that were told that they could be part of things, it's revalued, it's moving on the screen. I know them from since 2009 or so. They've all been hearing the exact same thing. So no one got redeemed this weekend. And there might have been people that went in somewhere to go through a fraudulent show where they took you through some stages so that you would go out and tell your friends, right? But nobody's done anything. No.
No one got money?
Nope.
No. All right, let's go.
There were 8,761 opportunity zones across America for humanitarian work. B. May 9th, 2019, Thursday morning coffee with Marks. Coffee with Marks and Friends Thursday Q and the www.pscp.tv web link www.twitch.tv web link.
I have no idea. What is that coffee with Marks? Was it?
So there's a guru who came up out of nowhere called Mark Z, right? And now Mark Z, from what I understand, has like 6 million followers on Twitter or something, right? Like something absurd. Now, let me tell you something. There is no one who is actually spitting the truth who they would ever allow 6 million people to listen to. Like right now, there's no way they would allow that to happen. What they do is they put that huge number so you think they're more credible because we're trained to believe that so many people listen to this person. He must be right because he's got such great information. And then if you listen to him, everything he's saying is completely average. Matter of fact, I think he's just reading old sit reps that I wrote. I mean, he's not saying anything new.
He's reading what you wrote. Okay, that's interesting.
I'm just saying, not
well,
really.
yeah, I know. I hear what you mean. Yeah, it's the same things that you were saying, the things that you wrote about. That they're coming out because it's rehashed information, right?
Exactly. Yep.
I mean, you could basically put all these, section 1, section 2 that she's going through, write them on a piece of paper, throw them into, a bag, and then pull them out next week and read one at a time, right?
And by the way, I've done that. I've come across intel reports that were old, and I was like, "Holy cow, this happened!" And it'd be like from 3 years before. So.
Yeah, I've seen that too. On videos and things they'll pull up. I said, wait a minute. Then they'll end up mentioning an event, and I said, wait a minute, that happened like a year ago.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah, let's continue.
Eagle 1 Call Part 1 May 2nd, 2019. www.dropbox.com web link Eagle 1 Call Part 2 May 7th, 2019. www.dropbox.com web link. Marked disclaimer. Please consider everything on this call as my opinion. People who take notes do not catch everything, and it's best to watch the video so that you get everything in context. Be sure to consult a professional for any financial decisions. 1. The Dow was dropping. Chinese elders were traveling today, Thursday, May 9th. There was a lot coming together, a lot of movement still. 2. I was expecting the 800 numbers last night, May 8th, but did not see a single package delivery overnight. But with things moving again today with the Chinese elders and signatories coming today, May 9th, I realized I was premature in expecting those numbers last night. 3.
Well, it's like, what are these things that she's saying? As that, I expected the 800 numbers. It's like it's not here. It's not. So, what's that? That's not really intel. It's now the Chinese elders coming in. Where's the, okay, it's, I was told by General so-and-so or the head of the Treasury or that the 800 numbers are going to come out. Here's the schedule. That would be, real intel. Right?
Yep.
So this is
that would be real intel that they would never release because it would be a danger to everyone. That's why you wouldn't do it, right? There's nobody in special ops who's giving out their very sensitive intel right before they take their team into, to go do something. It's just never going to happen. You would never give away your position on a, random robotic broadcast. And the other thing is, if what she's got to say is the truth, why is this the method is being put out? Why are you putting it out with a robotic voice on your own channel? Because you want to train us to listen to robots and to trust robots, right? Because that's where they're trying to get us to be.
Yeah, I always thought that was interesting. It's like, why am I listening to those robots? That's why I like listening to Gary Larrabee.
Yeah, me too.
Because he was reading the reports himself. And at least there was somebody that was actually doing, that you could look at, and but I realized he was just reading someone else's words. But that was much better than the robotic voices. And so I said I told you, it's like all of Benjamin Fulford's stuff has these people that were putting his stuff up. I guess they're gone because of copyright and that. So Benjamin Fulford, I guess, is coming down on that kind of stuff. That's okay. But now, the official stuff that's out there, it seems like it's a robotic voice. I can't listen to it. It's so difficult to hear. It's like I start listening, and then it's just after a few sentences, it's kind of like I'm just losing it. I can't keep tracking it because its words are off. Anyway, let's continue on here with Judy. Oops, I just hit the wrong thing.
8th, I did not see a single package delivery overnight, but with things moving again today with the Chinese elders and signatories coming today, May 9th, I realized I was premature in expecting those numbers last night. 3. The elders traveling here was a very good sign for the RV. 4. In filming Junior, I posted a lot on Discord last night about the elders traveling with the Chinese. 5. In filming Junior, when the Chinese travel to the US, they always have a couple elders that travel with them. 1 or 2 of them can sign on the dotted line for the Dragon family in charge. That is why I have a hunch that the 800 numbers will be released when they get here, because the signatory for the Treasury will be in the meeting as well. 6. Trump and Pompeo signed off on the RV as of last Friday, May 3rd.
Okay.
Iraq.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple things we can talk about this. So now they're openly calling the Chinese elders the Dragon family, right?
Yes.
Now, which we all knew, but anybody who's really paying attention understands what that means, knows there is no benevolence attached to the Dragon families. None. Right? The other thing is, they're talking about the signatory for the Treasury. So the first thing is, you got to know, the Treasury is completely defunct. They can't do anything. So the signatory can do all he wants, and all those things could happen, right? Because they're very big on, pomp and circumstance, right? To put on this show that they're doing something, and it'll accomplish nothing. So anybody out there who's getting ready to receive one of the Chinese elders and get a signatory from, the Department of the Treasury, go ahead. That does not mean the RV will happen. I mean, matter of fact, it's the reason why the RV didn't happen, because Steve Mnuchin is a scumbag who is, having parties with 13-year-old girls and, getting videotaped, and then they're showing it to his wife now to finally force him to come clean, right? Because that doesn't matter what the Treasury does, because if they don't fire him, we're not doing business with them, period. So they can do whatever they want with the Chinese elders. The Chinese elders don't have any money. They can't, remember, they took all the money from the banks. Everybody at a bank, remember this? You took all your liquidity and you gave it to the Hercules system, and you still haven't got it back because it wasn't real. It was fake money. They put it into the Hercules hacking system. They thought they were going to bring it back with assets, but it duplicated. So when you tried to bring it back in, the quantum system had already taken over and said, sorry, you can't bring it back in because those numbers are already in the system. So it wouldn't recognize them because it knew they were counterfeit.
So they just removed their counterfeit from the system.
Right, that's all they did. So they removed their liquidity, which was what their money was. And think about it, this is actually a good thing, because that money's removed, right? Then the quantum system can see where it needs to fill in gaps and actually replenish the system. But so like people wouldn't lose their retirements and things of that nature, right? Because the quantum system can put money back in the system. But because the Treasury, right now, who we paid their salaries, who Kim paid their salaries for a whole year, paid all their expenses, those cowards, right, who are loyal to Steve Mediocrity Mnuchin, they would rather stand by him The guy who is going to go down in history as the lowlife who turned over the entire financial system back to the people, or who refused to turn the financial system back to the people. How about that? Right? But ultimately it was taken from him in many ways. He'll be known as the coward of the dragons. He will not be the chosen one. He'll be the chosen scapegoat. Right? He'll be nothing. Not even in draconian history. He'll be nothing. Sorry.
A blip on the radar. No problem.
Not even. Yeah.
Okay.
Will have their rate announced. 7. One reason we want the Fed Reserve to die is that now they are allowed to ping your account to see your balance and tap it for money. Once the reset happens, they cannot do that anymore. 8. This reset should have gone on 9/11. Bush, Clinton and Obama fought against the reset with everything they had. Please listen to call at minute 1300 hours to 1900 hours for the details on this history. 9. Eagle 1 2025. We were on a day-by-day waiting for a go. Too much was going on with a lot of Mazinta running around. 10. Moving on to the Nazara, Germain, trust stuff. There is so much conspiracy theory stuff out there. I believe that much of it's real. 11.
Just as a note, I've had a couple people over the last week ask me, "What about the Saint Germain Trust? Is this the same thing?" And I'll just let you address it. I know it might be something to cover.
There is no trust in the world registered as the Saint Germain Trust. It does not exist. It never has. There is some random cabal trust that has a name that might be associated with Saint Germain. That might exist, but there are no assets that are allocated to any Saint Germain Trust. The legend goes by the people who, they know that we can actually prove that. They say, well, it's kept off planet, right? So in some other dimension. Well, guess what? We live in the third dimension, so it's useless to us, right? Because there's lots of stuff in the other dimensions, but it doesn't help us a bit.
That's a good point.
And then also, another point to add to that is this. When people keep talking about GCR, there is no law for GCR. And Nasara with an N, has to do with the farmers. It doesn't, there's things that are laid out there, and even that money has been taken. And now even the farmers are being attacked for different things, right? One of the things, farmers are getting sued because of pesticides put on the produce, right? Meanwhile, they had no idea, right? It's not the farmer's fault. And the only reason why they're suing them, right, back now, is because they're trying to take the money, thinking that maybe there's a chance that, that they're going to get paid out these massive amounts of money, right? Yeah. And I don't know what's going to happen. The farmers will definitely be compensated on some level. They'll probably get their land returned to them. I don't know what the plan is with that. But I will tell you that the, Quadzilla that they thought, many of them thought they were going to become, right? Because they're going to get so many trillions of dollars. What's his name? The country music singer there was saying that the money was, I had like a secondhand contact with him, and he was saying what happened is, he said, we're all liquid, and allegedly so was Leo Wanta. He was liquid, right? And the money was flowing like waterfall. That's what I was told, right? That was a direct quote from Willie Nelson, as it was, right? Like, and it might very well be, because it's easy to make things flow when they're not real, right? Like, if I was to put you in meditation and be like, oh, look at all the millions of dollars falling on you, you'd be like, yeah, man, it was amazing. Like, yeah, but it's not, but it didn't happen, right? It was just something you were thinking about, or, and you might be able to see it in a computer system, right? If I was going to just move numbers on a computer screen, it's easy to make that stuff flow because there's no allocation numbers attached to it. There's nothing real attached to it. It's just numbers, right? Yeah. It doesn't really matter. So that's all. Sorry.
All right. Okay.
Sean Hannity video 2010, uta.b web link. 12. It really was. How do you all think the Clinton admin came up with so much money? It was the reevaluation of the Kuwaiti dinar. 13. There was a better than excellent chance that Deutsche Bank would implode. You are going to get your global currency reset. If they wait till Europe and the US implodes, it will reset the hard way. 14. This was the longest run that fiat currency has made in human history. Usually it goes right back to a gold standard sometimes after a war. That's how it has worked in the past. This time they did something different. The bankers and the military complex came up with the petrodollar. 15. You all should watch the Mike Millennium.
Well, I mean, that is a point that's true information, right? That the fiat system always collapses, and there's always a war that covers up, the issue, so that the banks aren't looked at and say, why did you do this to us? Oh, it's the war, right? They need a scapegoat. But with Trump in the office, we don't have the war, right? But and before they came up with the petrodollar. Now there's a lot of conversation you can have about what actually happened back then. On where was the gold? Did we not have any gold anymore? Because all the interest payments to the Fed were done in gold. So, is there any gold in Fort Knox, right? And then Mnuchin went to Fort Knox, right? And they released black and white photos of him next to one. I mean, why not show these him running across the tops of all of the golden shelves, right, with all the gold sitting on it, when a whole warehouse full, right? No,
Yeah,
only
it's
this.
probably just a backdrop of screen.
Yeah, well, I mean, or tungsten bars in one vault, right? It's just the vault is filled up, right? And maybe it's only one wall, it's filled up to the top, right? It's just one wall of gold, right? Maybe it's 20, 30 metric tons of gold or something like that. Not, thousands of metric tons or hundreds of thousands of metric tons or millions of tons of metric tons. So,
well, it's fascinating. This reminds me of something, right? Like I think it was a documentary I saw a long time ago, and they were like trying to teach an ape how to do something, right? Or I guess it was an ape, and they were trying to teach him, and he would get frustrated, and all of a sudden the ape would start like pounding the table, right? He'd start freaking out. He's like, ah, 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 ah! Like he's like freaking out, right? And that's what the cabal reminds me of. Right?
your volume went low.
Did it really?
Yeah.
I just did a great ape impression. Sorry. But the point is, they start freaking out, right? Now, see, any other time when we would get close to breaking through, what they would do is they would start a war, right? Oh, no problem. We'll start a war. It's because it's a war system, anyways. So they were always building to war somewhere. So now what you see is they're trying to implement the Iron Mountain agenda. And in the Iron Mountain agenda, they're trying to go to a peace system. So you have to wage war, with the planet, and wage war with the environment and galactics and, disease and all these things that they're creating, right? So, but it's becoming very apparent, right? Because things that they would normally have just gotten away with, like the absolutely horrible abortion bill that Cuomo got passed in New York, right? Which is not an abortion bill. It's a human rights violation. It's a crime against humanity. It's refusing to acknowledge actual life. And then Congress is now becoming very evident that they are absolutely the deep state. The deep state is housed in Congress. I mean, it is awful. They have brought up a bill 38 times. It's called the Born Alive bill, I think. It's the Born Alive bill, something like that. And this bill is all about when a child, a human being, survives an abortion and no longer poses a risk, to the woman, that woman still has rights over that child's life. And because she wanted it aborted, even though it's now a human being, right, according to their absolutely ridiculous standards for life, right? Because, it's amazing, actually. I did 3D sonograms for all my kids, and I did them at every, like, 20 weeks, 30 weeks, 35 weeks. And it was amazing, the pictures I have still. I mean, their faces were so accurate. They were so alive. You could see their eyes would open. It was incredible. I don't know how anybody could see that and not appreciate life at some point does happen, in the womb, right? It is real. It's not just, the entire time until it leaves that woman's body. And this this woman from this other group she was a survivor of abortion. She was in Times Square, and they actually posted it on the Jumbotron when she did a live 3D sonogram in the middle of Times Square. This happened like last week, I think. And they showed it on all screens. And the way I was told is that all of Times Square went silent because it's life, and you connect to what is living. And they all saw this baby on this massive Jumbotron. So it's harder to be self-righteous and, run around in a protest with your big sign that says, my abortion was great, and all these horribly insensitive, nasty, classless things they say. And then
yeah, Tank, I'm actually showing a recent 3D sonogram of my grandchild that my daughter just sent me.
Oh, that's great. I love it. That's right, because your daughter's she does it for a living, right?
Well, it's her business to run. She has a ultrasound business in California, and she's just sent me this photo about 2 weeks ago. And this is at like 2 months, or maybe it's 3 months, something like that. It's the first trimester, and it's a face. It's a face of a baby. It looks like it's just sleeping. You couldn't. I just can't see how that someone would want to stop that, right? To abort that. It's really astonishing.
Yeah, that is amazing. I'm trying to get footage. They've got it blocked on all the media channels. This sonogram that went out in Times Square on the Jumbotron.
No, really?
Yeah, because they don't want anybody to see that, right? They don't want anybody to connect to what it means to be alive. All right.
Well, send it to me.
Yeah, when I find it, I will. I will.
All right, we'll continue on with
Yes.
Restored Report.
Videos on the hidden secrets of money. 16. 1929 has nothing on what we are going through now. We are setting up for a huge crash. 17. Eagle.
I kind of mentioned this, the beginning of the broadcast today, is that I don't think that we need to go through a huge crash. I don't think that's necessary. I think that was before I thought that was definitely going to happen. I think that now what we're going to see is that we've already hit bottom, right? And we're only going up. Yes, it's still rocky in places around the world, but we've already on the rocket engines are already accelerating right now, and we're going to be pulling everyone up from this point on. I don't see that we have to go through a complete devastating crash.
I never saw that. I mean, I guess when I was in the RV, I thought that could happen, and maybe that, that's what would need to happen. Then we would recover, right? And then we would be, somehow rejuvenating, the economy. But at this point, I don't know how they can compensate for the obviously inflated overvaluation of these companies, right? So I don't know how they compensate for that. So, and as far as the economy itself, I guess if they're talking about the stock market, I don't know. I guess it would probably have to level out, but I'm pretty certain that what'll happen is that'll happen in a manner and a method that it will just be in the same time it just becomes irrelevant because no one will even care. Because I think it's going to phase out.
This is what I was looking at. It's just like what happened after the Napoleon War, right? Where the Rothschilds, end up owning England after that because the Crown Corp crashed and they bought it all up, right? And it was, I would say that they were going to do the same thing. They were going to, end up owning more of the world, and then now the people in the GCR were going to go out and spread money that came out of this revaluation that occurred, right? So anyway, that's how I was thinking things were going to happen. But yeah, I don't think that that's going to occur.
No, it's not. I definitely don't think so.
2025 military movement. The White House has been given other deals by some European hats. China, Russia and America are in very close talks with the friction taking place in Iran. The oil way of Hormuz is so very important. 18. There are a lot of paid shills out there discrediting many intel providers. We should ask ourselves why.
Who is she talking about?
I don't know who's getting paid to discredit them, because I discredit them for free all
Yes.
the time. And the way that I do it is that I use evidence and facts versus intel from middlemen who are way below the gatekeepers who are feeding them false intel. And even when they think they know what they're talking about, I still had better sources than they do. And I'm telling you, all of those were fake. All of them. They were all part of the same process.
I want to know how I can get paid to do this. I mean,
I know. How do you get paid? Whoever's out there, we need a sponsor. We need somebody who's paying,
yeah,
people to
please,
discredit these guys.
please, I'm all up for getting paid to get this information out there. So, Judy, if you know who they are that's doing the paying, please let me know. Tell Tank, let us know, because it'd be really good if we got paid to do this.
That'd be great. It'd be so much easier. My gosh.
All right, here we go.
19. Multiact.com web link. 20. We know it's inevitable. The reset will happen. We have to move back to real value. 21. Eagle One to Wanta. Alien@anta.com. www.youtube.com web link. Wanta. www.youtube.com web link. www.google.com web link. CMKX in court part 1. www.youtube.com web link. It's the largest fraud case in world history. It is alleged that between June of 2004 and October of 2005, over $2 trillion worth of fake CMKM Diamonds Incorporated shares were sold to the public. The company's shareholders were suing SEC for $3.87 trillion. 3 videos of Al's court case. www.youtube.com web link. 4 big families of the Republic of China. Surnames of Chiang, Su, Kang, Chen were responsible for much of China's management of finance, politics, economy and law. n.m.wikipedia.org web link. Saint Germain Trust, St. Andreas Twinflame.com web link. The Awakening by Canon, www.youtube.com web link. Thursday Forex Analytical Charts, May 9th, www.kitco.com web link. C. May 9th, 2019, 12:03 p.m. East. Zim bond appointments, Able Danger, videos, Able Danger, Zim bond appointments, prayer for redemption. I just got an indication that Zim bond appointments were being passed out. D.
Any Zim bond appointments being passed out that you heard of?
No, and Leo Wanta had never ever was a signer on those accounts. He would never had the rights. He was never the beneficiary to any of that money. He was an agent who was paid to do who was hired by the government to do a job. He was not the signer, and that money was fraudulently taken from Russia. Just in reference to Leo Wanta, it is the biggest fraud case. But if it was in reality played out the way it should be, as much as Leo wants to hold on to that, we have tried to help him, but he has no right to that money. He never did. And that money, if that money was released into the United States, it would cause World War III, because Russia would know that money is there. They know the money's theirs, but if it comes out, it would cause World War III.
Yeah, well, maybe that's part of the setup that was taking place, right? Because who sent Wanta there was Bush, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the ultimate goal.
I think it was Reagan. It was Reagan. It was Reagan something.
Oh, it was Reagan. Okay. Well, Bush was still there. And we're talking about their ultimate plan, right, is to cause a war between Russia and the United States.
I mean, Reagan was a good president as far as I know. And he was.
Yeah, I think.
But he was an actor, right? So inevitably, you're counting on the vice president. Usually, is one who's pulling the strings in reality, right? They're the one like behind this. That's why this presidency is such an anomaly, right? Because Pence has no power, and so but in George W. Bush, obviously, Cheney was obviously in control, and I would imagine because George H.W. Bush had such prominent positions, right? He was so actively involved. He was probably pulling all the strings, like not even in a way that was where Reagan was complicit. He was just giving him bad information all the time and bad advice.
I'm just sending Tui the link because I just noticed that he had sent me the message about half an hour ago. Well, actually, a little more than that. We're already an hour and 20 minutes in. So, I'll continue here.
May 8th, 2019, 11:44 p.m. East window was closing. Marked. The window is closing. Marked Q&A. Inteldinachronicles.blogspot.com web link. 1. 800 numbers were not out yet. They were continuing to put off the arena guy. The latest was he was told money would be in his account Thursday, May 9th. 2. One source thought packages would be delivered tomorrow, Thursday, May 9th. 3. No bad news, but the news was all over the place, everything from a 2-day delay to it's going right now. 4. The news has been pretty solid from the sources I listened to. I heard there could be a short hold on the dinar. 5. I think it would be reasonable to expect 800 numbers tomorrow, Thursday, May 9th. 6. The CMKX phone call may be from a 503 area code. I do not have confirmation of any CMKX package deliveries today, May 8th, but I did not get an update from my bond trader sources in Zurich. 7.
Do you know what these packages are that they're talking about?
I know a bunch of people who are involved in that lawsuit. I can tell you that I did speak to Michael Cottrell one time. He had the darkest energy of any human being I've ever spoken to. He was so bitter and so angry, and he had clearly sold his soul to the devil. At least in my opinion, he was so angry that I had the nerve to file a lawsuit, against Wells Fargo. And at that time, I didn't realize what the problem was. But he did say, you don't even know who you're filing against, right? Because he'd been terrorized by these guys, these dragon families, but he ended up being complicit with it. He ended up cooperating with them for something, and I can't remember exactly what it is. What the details are of the CMKX thing.
Okay, yeah. A lot of this stuff I don't know what it's about because I didn't really follow it. But, all right. Let's continue.
Eagle 1 2025. Eagle 1 has landed. This window was closing tonight, May 8th at midnight. We were on a day-by-day go. 8. Eagle 1 2025. We talked about a different window. There were reasons for the high alert. Stay calm. It was in the works. It was a process. 9. Eagle 1 2025. If this was not true, why would I be sitting in rooms with 4-star generals and high government officials?
Why would she?
She's not. So I'm not sure who the 4-star generals she's talking about are, but I will tell you that if you are sitting in there with actual 4-star generals who are actually part of the Pentagon and not the frauds from the United Nations posing as 4-star generals for the military, because everybody in the United Nations has a military title. They're all generals. I was offered a position as a general with the United Nations. So they're all military positions because they want to they're used to running the world by war. And they want to transition the war model over and make the armies essentially like a Peace Corps. Right now they're out, they're building stuff. That's what they say they want to do. But that was the bottom of the plan. That wasn't the reality. The reality is we all would have been dead. That's what would have happened. But
right.
The idiots, Rothschild and the Chinese elders, they were all complicit in this plan because they did exactly what everybody still bought into this is doing, which is sign off on their own genocide.
Okay, all right. Let's continue.
My intel did not come from the dinar world, even though the dinar world was somewhat good. My intel came from generals and high-level ops. I would not give anything unless it was sure. Nothing was 100% sure until we were in the
Wait. Now, I don't care what general she's talking to. She never spoke to a general above the generals I spoke to. Never. So she could, I know I'm not sure if it's her or if she's giving someone else's report, but whoever that report's from, I can tell you that there's nobody who got better direct information from the top generals in the U.S. Army than me, in the U.S. military, U.S. Marines, than I did. Nobody. And those were the guys who were actually out at the setting up the actual exchange centers, and the white hat military. They were in cooperation with them, and that was a whole covert operation. That I hope that all those guys realize that is not. If you're still fighting that battle, you are right now fighting against your own military, and you are not part of it. You are rogue, and you're not rogue with the good guys. You did not make a righteous decision. See, there's something called the Oath Keepers Patch, and the Oath Keepers Patch talks about that. How you will not fire on, even if you're commanded to, you will not fire on unarmed civilians. You will not, all these different things, right? It's the most honorable route, for the military, right? It's saying that we're here to defend the people. We support the Constitution. And it's a reminder of that. Now, a lot of these guys, they signed off on that Oath Keepers Patch, then they used it against them, right? And they made it seem like what they were doing was constitutionally accurate, but it's not. The same way that they're saying that there's a constitutional crisis right now, which there is, but it has nothing to do with the fact that the exact same thing when the Democrats, walked out of Congress, when Eric Holder was, when they basically held him in contempt, and they said it was just abominable. They couldn't imagine. They were disgusted by it. Now they're holding, Barr in contempt, trying to do the same thing, and now they're calling it unconstitutional. Why wasn't it a constitutional crisis when you did it?
Right.
That wasn't long ago, right?
Right.
So, in the same way, that is what's happened to, at least, and I don't know if this has been corrected with the white hats, right? What I know is the GCR isn't happening. If you are guarding an RV center, there is not going to be any revaluation of currency. So what exactly do you think is happening there? Because that's never going to happen. And you can call your sources at the Pentagon and you'll find that out to be true. Sorry, that's all.
No. It's what we're doing here. We're going over it. And it's a good idea. I think we do this, review these things. At least, there may be a couple other sources, but this is the one, that I would kind of listen to.
Well, she's summarizing several reports, so it's not just her. It's like she just puts them in order, so it's good.
Yeah. That's why I listen to it, and I just want to keep tabs on it, but I didn't dig in, didn't spend much time on Dinar Chronicles or any of those sites or be on the Bruce Call or any of that. Anyway, I was not in currencies. I was in the historical bond side. So it really seemed to be two different realms. But, all right, let's continue.
Informing Junior, there were certain people that their job was to put out bad information. 11. Informing Junior, I was told that the codes were entered and because of the denial being placed on the Forex, that there would be a 72-hour delay, but that was not true in this case. 12. Informing Junior, HSBC wanted to release the 800 numbers now and not wait another day. They were wanting the ZIM to go right now. 13. Informing Junior,
stop there for a minute.
Tuesday, May 7th.
Yes.
Okay, so HSBC, their system has been shut down since September. What they've been doing is they've been running out of an offshore bank. They have absolutely no assets. They are negative liquidity. I'm not sure the exact number. So they have nothing to do. So the reason why they want it to go right now is because they're desperate. They have no money. So what they want to do is they want the system to cross over. The problem is they keep doing the exact same thing. They are the definition of insanity. They do the same thing. They hack it from a different direction. They try to, leverage assets that aren't theirs. But now there's no assets moving through their system, so they don't even know what's going on. Now all the banks are going to start freaking out because what they were doing is what Dan talked about is where they would pool the money into one place, and they would all draw from that money. Well, they can't do that anymore because Kim shut it off, so they can't communicate with each other at all. So there's no way for them to find out what's going on with the other transactions. They can't leverage money that they don't have. They can't even enter it into their system. They don't have the ability anymore. So of course, HSBC wants that to happen, because that is like the home base for the Chinese elders out of Hong Kong, right? And they're completely broke. So they want to find any way to create even the illusion that they have assets, so they can get things done to try to overcome this one woman in Colorado who just completely demolished their entire fraudulent system. Just saying.
I hear you. All right, let's continue.
After Pompeo paid his visit to Iraq, I noticed that some of the so-called intel providers started putting out confusing intel. 14. In filming Junior, I stated on Discord that I'm inclined to believe that when China came on Thursday or Friday, May the 9th to the 10th, that we would see a very big movement of the 800 numbers. 15. Ivanadia, I have 2 wealth managers at 2 separate banks in Vancouver, Canada, that I have remained in contact with for more than 4 years. Because of me, they own all of the currencies that we talk about. They are totally upbeat right now.
Stop.
Totally.
Okay,
Yeah.
So anytime you're bragging about your banking contacts, right? Anybody who's like, well, I've had these banking contacts for all these years. When you say that, what you're basically saying is, I have ignorantly stayed friends with members of the cabal who are high-level bankers. That's what you're saying. So anytime someone brags about that, like Bruce, because I think she's actually referring to Bruce, or she was at some point. Bruce on Big Call, his contacts have always been bankers. Well, we know bankers are the problem. So why is that a brag? Why is that something that's good, right? That's like saying, like, it's like when Ben Fulford says, well, according to secret societies or the CIA or the who are you talking to? Who are your great sources? Like, you're basically out wide open, saying mainly who I deal with is very corrupt individuals who've profited off the system. And in addition to that, they also leak intel. But it's not real intel. It's psyops, because it's all part of an MI6 where they're putting out fake information. But I'm very connected, and I'm the voice of the fake information. So you can listen to what I'm saying as the false narrative. That's what they're saying. They're putting out a false narrative repeatedly, right? And then the lemmings on the us on the bottom, we hear that like, oh, she's talking to bankers. Well, so what? We should put the pieces together by now and stop, acting stupid. Because if we know the bankers are the problem, and then you tell me you're getting your information from the bankers, that's a problem. If we know the Chinese elders are the same ones who have never allowed the RV to go, right? That's what we were told. You can hear in this report too, they're saying they entered in several codes. Well, what happened? They put in the codes. Great. Oh, their codes don't work. We forgot to tell you that part. That's the missing part of this intel. Their codes don't work because they don't have access to the system, right? So I could go put in codes right now too. It wouldn't matter because I know the codes just as well as the Chinese elders. As a matter of fact, my code book that I'm going to make up right now would be just as accurate and just as effective as the Chinese elders. So, you can start listening to all that, because it doesn't matter. You can reference my 6-year-old. It doesn't matter. The Chinese elders have no power. So to say these things, whenever they reference these big sources they have, if you have real sources, you don't have to talk about them like that. If you have real sources, you know what? And you're getting accurate information, and they are actually advocating for you. They don't have secret code names like, the Flyer, right? Now, the Flyer is this famous character, right, who flies in the plane, and when he's in the air, that's when he signs the documents. And we were all waiting on the Flyer, right? And the Chinese elders and Madame Wu. Real people who actually care about you, they come out with their real name. They tell you what they're doing, who they are. They want you to know who they are. They want you to know they're for you. They want you to be able to trust them. People who are scamming you, right, are the ones who you couldn't know. They were too mysterious. They were too powerful to be known, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that's what this is. Her bankers in Vancouver, please. I give them absolutely no credibility. Those same bankers have run the banks into the ground, and every single bank's insolvent. So basically what you're saying is the scourge of humanity, who is my source, that's who you're referencing. So from this, no matter what she says about them after this, I give them zero credibility. and her. Sorry, go
No, it's okay. No, let's continue.
ahead.
Be ready, and that everything was closer than anybody could even imagine. This was not hopium, but straight talk from some very high-end bankers. They both called me this afternoon.
Oh my gosh. Some very high-end bankers who don't even know that they're not in control of the system. It's so close you can't even imagine. It's so close. No, dude, really, really close. I'm serious. What? It's the RV is so close. It's almost like the only way it's close is if we have these two timelines where one is going to split off and one is going to be hell and one is going to be heaven, right? And that way of the way of the RV is down. It won't, because that means they're in control. So if the people who are in the know are the bankers, we are all screwed. We're dead in the water, because these people, they care about money on the level she's talking, right? I'm not talking about people in your local bank and kind-hearted people who started a bank or things like that. I'm talking about what she's talking about, these high-end people, the big bond traders, all these different characters that they're talking about. They know what's going on. And the fact is this: look, I dealt with lawyers out of Spain, and they were going to Switzerland, and they had the largest group of lawyers to ever submit documentation. And these guys, they all thought they were in the know. And what they found out when they got there is they didn't know anything. Now, if the top lawyers in the world who are directly involved with this kind of stuff, historical assets and bonds and Zim and currency, the dragon families, they've sold their soul to the devil. This is what they believe in. They're all about it. When they got there, they were going to the White Dragon, which would be the Austrian dragon in Switzerland, of all places, right? Because that's where your money is. You're going to go there and they're going to make it all happen. And what happened? Absolutely nothing. The White Dragon admitted he did not have the right codes. He didn't have them. And he didn't know how to get them, because the codes are produced in real time by one person. And that guy wasn't him. And they've given a shot to every one of these different dragon leaders who thinks that they can pull this off, right? Right now, the focus is on the losers here in the U.S., people, and Hillary Clinton, and, I guess she's in London right now. She's over the British, she's the Blue Dragon. She's over the British group of the dragon families. And then you got, I'm not even sure if Eric Prince is the one here now. And then, your chosen one is Steve Mnuchin. I mean, if that was the hope of humanity, right now, that's legit. All that, everything I'm telling you, that is exactly what they're talking about. And it's obvious. It's playing out right in front of you. The news is reflecting everything we're saying. It is not reflecting the narrative they're teaching, because they're talking about where this big change is going to happen and all these great things. It's all going to be magical, but there's no way to make it make sense, because even if we all got tons of money, we'd take that money and where would we spend the money? We'd spend the money with the very people that have enslaved us. We give it right back to them.
Yeah. You said that it's all playing out right in front of us. And we just saw the Chinese leave the U.S. without a deal.
Yep.
All right. No deal. So what is playing? So all these elders that accompany them, they left with no deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, they've been informed there is no deal. So where is the GCR? Who is in control? You also you were saying that that they treat the U.S. military as the slaves. Well, the reality is that the bankers are also slaves. There was a head slave of the Rothschilds, right, and the other these other families, right, but they were down below others, right? And how many levels there were, they were all subservient to the others, subservient. They were the servants of the ones above them.
Dan, I'm going to tell you something wildly inappropriate that I've never repeated in public. Okay. That, just to give you an idea of what these guys are like, these Rothschild dragon family members, right? They would force every one of these leaders. I can't even say it. Just to show, okay, all right, I'm trying to think of a way to say this without, it's just really terrible. But they are so, they had intimidated the world so much. They had convinced these leaders that they were in control so much that they would force these leaders to their knees to please them. Put it that way. To service them. Yes, thank you. And they would force, and all of them did. All of them did. And the only two presidents who did not comply with that, in the past, 40 or so years, is Reagan and Trump. So I'm saying that's the kind of thing they do to demoralize people. So they know, I did this to you. I am so much dominated over you that I can force you to do this, because that's how they work. That's how they live. That's how they think. How they look at us. That's why they look at, they said this. I didn't say this. They said, the Rothschilds told Kim, the military are she said, they said, what you fail to realize is the military are our slaves. Now, that actual email is posted on the Speak Project. And you go into the Speak Project and you can research. I did a series back to back called Going After the Kings, because the royal, family, whenever we actually talk about it, it's never talking about, the Queen. It's talking about the Rothschilds. They replaced the royal family. They appointed themselves royals. So that's the kind of nonsense that we're dealing with. So anybody out there, who's ready to, go service the Rothschilds, all of you staying loyal to them, that is what you're signing up for. Because when you get to the highest levels, the best possible version of your life, that's what you have to look forward to. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay. Well, on that, we'll continue. I'm sure there's more to talk about.
Calendar. Wednesday, January 2nd, Gitmo military tribunals began. Monday, January 20th.
Wait, they began? I thought they began 6 months ago.
Yeah,
They
no,
just began again?
January. In January they started. That was
in January. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
That was the official date. They've been continually delayed. See, the infrastructure that was set up by Bush, Jr., was set up to where all of the information was to be hidden, from the public, so that the judge at any time could, classify it, make it, quiet, and no one would know what was going on. So this information infrastructure that was put in place has been removed by Trump. It took effect, at the beginning on January 1st or 2nd, and then so the tribunals were to begin. By the end of January, there was these delays happening. They had a couple of sessions and things like that. The judge tried to close it off for the public to view a couple of times, and it kept being rescheduled. And then suddenly, the next scheduling that took place, I think it was in March. There was the judge had a detached retina, had to be rushed away for medical attention. Now that judge has now been fired. So has been the commander of Gitmo has been fired, and they've been replaced. So it's about ready to begin. But they, again, clearing away the obstacles that were there to allowing the public to know what actually was in the evidence.
Right.
So declass everything. All right, we'll continue.
Began at Gitmo. Wednesday, April 24th, IRS shut down. Functions shifted to new U.S. Treasury in Reno and other locations across the U.S.
Was that? Is that when it happened?
Yeah. So Reno is the French Republic Treasury, run by the Rothschild. That is completely fraudulent. It is where the admiral has been basically, the admiral, whatever his real name is, has been held hostage in hotels for all this time. And he's guarded by a bunch of guys who are very loyal to him, who believe that he's such a good man. And he has been completely complicit with the Chinese elders, and he is fully aware of the agenda, and he has ripped off thousands of people, and that is directly from Kim. And Kim cannot stand that man. She says, she calls him Admiral. She points out every time, she says, Admiral, who's not an admiral, right? And So she points it out every single time. So he is not. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, he doesn't seem to be a factor anymore. Nobody seems to talk about him as much, right? Because all the previous characters, they're all phasing out, right?
So
You know, you're
my understanding of what Reno was all about, and then you know, and you know, I know people that were in meetings in Reno and had some conversation with them about what it is. So this is what I was, the information I gleaned over the years about what Reno is. It is the restored republic, the new, or the revamping of the original American republic, and its treasury is being put there in Reno on a Indian reservation, so that it would be out of the jurisdiction of the USA Incorporated. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Yes, that is the story.
I know that is the story. That's what I know, and the people that I know that were interfacing with that, that's what's coming back. So that I'd never heard of being about part of the French, French, but that would tie in with the Payseers, the Merovingian bloodline, bloodline family.
Yeah, there's two different registered. Well, there's a couple. They always make multiple versions, right? So there's the New Republic, then there's the Restored Republic, which and really there's just the Republic, right? The Republic right now, it never ceased to exist. What happened was contractual law overruled. It was like if the Republic made an agreement to do business this way, according to UCC guidelines for the past 100+ years, and now that those guidelines are expired, I mean those contracts are expired. So that should be over in 2014. All those are over. So we're no longer bound by the same contractual code. So really everything has to either be recontracted, which is what they're trying to do to get us to sign new contracts to commit our souls and ourselves, they never want you to read anything, right? So they never give you enough time to evaluate something. So that's like when Obamacare came out, it was 800 pages and nobody read it. Right, so they didn't realize they were giving away their civil liberties. All the things were snuck in there, right? They snuck the RV in there, and all these different things. That's the kind of stuff they do.
Chipped was put in there.
Yeah, exactly. We can all be chipped now because to track you, to protect you.
Yeah, it was going to required for you to actually get any treatment. I think it was supposed to take effect in 2017. That you had to be chipped at that point. Even though it was
my gosh, really? I did not know that. That's amazing. Wow.
You go to the emergency room. You have to be chipped. Boom, chip you right there.
Yeah, we need to track this therapy so we know what's going on with you at all times.
Yeah, exactly.
Wherever you go.
For your safety.
For your safety, right?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and put this in that way. We make sure we don't give you the wrong drugs, and if we want, we can have the cyanide bomb go off that's in the chip inside you and end you.
Yeah, if we want. Yeah.
If we want.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. We've got about 3 more minutes of this.
Friday, April 26th. Mass arrests of global elites were reported to be in full swing on the over 90,000 indictments filed in federal courts across the nation since Trump took office. Wednesday, May 1st, the GCR RV window opened. Gold asset-backed Iraqi dinar and USTN started international trading platforms.
Let me ask you a question. So, I was, I knew about the Iraqi dinar, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was like a year and a half ago, this gold Iraqi dinar appeared, right? It's a separate currency. Do you know what is the difference? Why did this other one appear on the market? Was it real? Is it? I have no idea. I knew
it's not real. I mean, it's TRN real. I mean, like it probably exists, but it's not. There's no gold to back it because they don't own that gold, right?
Right.
It's like.
But did the Iraqi government put out gold dinar?
Oh, I don't even know. I don't even know.
And
I saw. I know what you're talking about.
you know, where did that come from? I mean, I've been offered, you know, dinar, you know, in the gold. Oh, we've got the gold one and gold with gold certificate. So, you know, all of the stories. I mean, but it popped out of nowhere, right? I mean, for all these years, just the Iraqi dinar, and all of a sudden now there's gold dinar. Well, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think what they're doing. I think, you know, and this is just my theory based on what they do, and this might be a stretch because they're really creative and they never do the same thing. Oh wait, they do the exact same thing. So here, let's figure it out. So they have the gold dinar. Why? Well, we know they're going to do a play on words. So they put the word gold there. Now, that doesn't mean it's actually backed by gold, right? Just means
right.
it's golden color or something stupid, right?
It is golden color.
Perfect, right? So it's golden cover. So that will reinforce this must be gold, right? And then it's not backed by gold, right? It's backed by gold certificates, which we've already proven that Steve Mnuchin submitted at the exact same time when the RV was supposed to go, you know, back in September, all types of gold certificates, right? There was a whole report about it to back it up. They said Steve Mnuchin came in with gold certificates, presented them. I know lawyers who were directly involved. They were telling me, we're so busy, right? We're so busy with so much work because they were registering the gold certificates. They were going to try to leverage it in the banking system, and then they thought they could create their currency. They keep trying the same method. They keep trying to claim an asset they don't own. Then they try to put it in the system as an asset, and they cannot figure out for the life of them why the asset redemption program won't work. Because even when they create brand new computers, the quantum system still maps it and still controls it. So they can try to make 1,000 more computers, different ways, and all these things. They will never be able to escape it because it will reach out and touch it, map it in an hour. The Treasury, Kim implemented an entirely new system in the Treasury. Entirely new. It took her about 4 hours. It would have taken them about 4 years. That's the difference in the level of technology. So we're at a disadvantage because they have numbers. They have armies of mercenaries and hackers and, you know, people that will lie for them and gang members and, you know, and really, you know, the very high end of mediocre people like Steve Mnuchin who can use his creative genius to do the exact same thing everybody else has failed at the exact same way. You know, all they know how to do is follow orders. And the problem is the creative mind, the mastermind behind all the orders they ever received, he made the system so you were completely dependent on him thinking for you. And he's dead. And he will never come back. So that's what I would say probably that, you know, that the dinar is, you know, like, hey, I got an idea. Let's call it gold. Let's make a corporation.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I can pretty much sum up their whole methodology in like 6 moves, right?
Okay, so this also comes in boxes, right, with a master certificate on top, right? So this is very much the same as the historical bonds, right? It's just now it's just reboxed, put a master certificate. You have to have the master certificate, or there's no way to use these as a way to access, you know, the gold value of these, you know, gold dinar. So it just seemed like they just manufactured it out of nothing. Is what it seemed like to me. You know, I listen to people that I work with in it, and you know, these are serious people, and you know, and they have and they're all, yeah, this is the gold dinar, and I go, okay, so where'd it come from? I mean, it just like it wasn't talked about all these years, or already dealing with it. All of a sudden now there's gold boxes of dinar floating around. People asking money for it, and they're trying to buy these now. So it just seemed like it's just part of a scam. So that's my impression of it. But anyway, we will continue.
Prosperity packages began to be delivered. Friday, May 3rd, Trump and Pompeo signed off on the RV. Sun. May 5th, the cabal was unable to pay what was owed the US while Trump was in the UK. Another
So what's that all about? Do you know? Yeah, the cabal was not able to pay the U.S. It didn't quite make any sense to me. Oh, hello. Oh, did we lose Tank? No, Tank is still there. No, he dropped off, but Tui is here. Tui,
Hello, Dan.
hi.
Belum nak Dan.
Well,
Greetings to you from Fiji.
greetings to you, and you sound just like Tank imitating you.
Greetings, Tank.
No, Tank dropped off. He was just here, and we just lost connection. I went back to check and see if he was there. I saw him drop, but you were here. So, how's it going today? How's it going in Fiji?
We're doing very well, thank you. Everything is going as it's supposed to be going. And yeah, but first of all, I just want to say hi. I know I've been focusing a lot in the last few days on the people here. There are just more and more people coming in, so it's time, like we consuming time, consume a lot of our time to try and organize things, because now that the awareness is start to growing, is beginning to grow faster, and it's beginning to accelerate. People are knowing more about what's happening, what's truly happening on the planet, and I'm very happy. We are all very happy, elders, the chiefs, on the progress of things. And yeah, just want to say hi and greetings to everyone on the live chat, everyone on the live show, and greetings to you in the future. Bulunaka, blessings and love from Fiji. Yeah, the for the last few days, yes, greetings from Fiji, from the future.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
we're at the beginning of time. Oh, that went.
when time begins.
Beginning of time, then you'd be in the past.
Yeah. So we managed to go and meet our local the people that went on strike, and they are so happy about understanding the truth about how everything is working, and because all of them, there were some parliamentarians there. We'll be meeting again tomorrow. We'll be meeting with the general secretary for the Fiji Trade Union Congress, Felix Anthony, and some of the parliamentarians that are working with him to try and come up with a solution with the government. And we met them on Friday, and they're so they still, because it's a shock to them to we're bringing this solution to them, and now they're figuring out that it's so real that they can't believe that it's actually happening. And I told them, yeah, we explained to them how how the money is, and because all of them knew that the government doesn't have any money anymore, and so we've been contacted by the what you call this, the CID, or the Secret Services in Fiji, the intelligence community, and we are happy to with an open arms to come invite them and come in, so that we can discuss and talk about how to come up with a solution together to to regenerate our own country, and not relying on anyone else and or any help from outside. We just have to come together with love, recognize each other's sovereignty, and we'll be able to come up with a solution where everybody wins. And now we'll be able to present to the government, because we're going to be meeting with the government very soon, as soon as things comes down I mean, as soon as we organize a meeting with the Trade Union Congress, we'll be able to set up a meeting where the government can be helped as well. Because I told them that the government will need our help, the people, because no matter where they'll be looking now, they won't find anything. And it just comes together with the announcement that Tank made on Friday about Kim being able to isolate all the terminals for all the different banks. and not associating any banks with any of the central banks, where they can block funds from from directly from that is transferred directly from the trust and directly to the individual accounts that is supposed to receive them. And which is it's a really good thing for us, because now we are getting more more, our relationships with our local banks and our commercial bank, and we're talking about the 20 and the 80% with them. So we are looking forward to actually working together with them, so that basically we don't want anyone to get hurt from these changes. Now they know there's no money in the country. We'll have to we'll have to get the tank and the trust in to be able to work with them, and whatever the whatever the awareness that needs to be done here in Fiji, to the political parties, to the governments, to the different to the military, to the police. We'll be doing this together, to the local banks and the managers, to even the the Christian denomination and all these all the Hindu, all the denomination, the Muslims, because we'll be doing this together, working together as one people, and living sovereign beings. And all these differences and all this three-dimensional illusion will we'll try to learn, and try to learn from each other, and try to organize, and try to see what is the most important thing. It comes down to how human life and the gift of life that we each all have. And yeah, I've been listening to your talk about Ken Dunn.
Yes.
Yeah, about the galactics, and I just wanna say a few things about that. If just because the process right now that we are going on, I mean, there's a lot of talks about people talking about each other and talk about it. But if you look at what he's doing and what we are doing, we actually we're the embodiment of that the Nesara Jasara or the global currency reset, the spiritual aspect of it. That's what we're doing right now. He just he talks about he's talking about something that he doesn't fully understand, because he thinks it's gonna be in a certain way. It's gonna be it's gonna happen this way, exactly like this, and according to his awareness and according to the environment he was brought up in. And I've been listening to his shows, and I understand. He means well. He just don't understand how everything comes together and how it fits in the big picture. And everyone has their own role. And some things that he's talking about is it's a little ahead in the future. And we are doing the progressive work of changing and creating what he's talking about, because it's not going to happen overnight or just 1 hour. The change will have to chances have to be given to everyone on the planet to create a GCR in them, to be able to reevaluate the whole assets and everything around them. It just simply means to be sovereign. And so it cannot happen in the physical way that he's talking about. People giving money and all this. And I know Kim and Tank, and we've been discussing this all along. So he's just saying the same thing, but he's just a little ahead in the future. And the progression is very important to progress slowly, because otherwise the galactics will, like what you're saying, they've done this already, and they spoiled it, and they broke this planet into pieces, and we restart again. And because they wanted to force it in the way they wanted to, the way they didn't understand. And now they already learned the lesson. And it's like if a baby is born, you can feed her or him foods for adults, because she won't be able to process it, and she has to grow with the information. And that's how what is happening right now on the planet. There'll be people that's new to this, and just like what I said, it's not it's our role to try and do this in a progressive way, where they can digest the information slowly, step by step, and then be part of what's happening, so that they will be able to experience and reclaim their own sovereignty. And it's not given to them, because sovereignty is within. And so what we're doing is just the same thing. And but there's just we have different parts to play. The Galactics have the parts in the future, and the Zara Confederacy is what is happening right now. Sovereignty returned to everyone on the planet, and the processing of that we will. That's why that's why you are here. That's why I'm here, and that's why Tank is there, and that's why Kim is there, because we have been brought up in a way, in an environment where you can understand how to progress this in a very progressive kind of way. And it's not wrong that he said what he said, but it's just he's just a little ahead in the future. And like I was thinking to myself, and I was saying, oh, this is just this is the reason why we're going to be doing this in Fiji, so we can sample it out. I'm not just going to go around telling everyone that is deeply ingrained into the doctrines of the Christian religion and tell them that you are wrong and that you come this way. I can't do that, because the information, even though I'm helping them from a perspective, but I'll be hurting hurting them, because they won't be able to digest and use that information in a way that is um, that is beneficial to them. And so when we allow and create an environment where they can grow and understand the information through time, and they'll be able to really fully understand what is happening. And then now, no longer we're teaching them, but they're learning on their own. And so that's what the project is all about, to be able to do this, and this is very important. And it's not going to be a humanitarian project anymore. I don't like the word humanitarian, because they are sons and daughters of the living creator that is within. They don't need your help. They just need guidance from the physical brainwash, and the slave system that has been part of their body for so long. It's part of their DNA. As soon as they rearrange the DNA, rearrange the agreement, the experience will change and the understanding will change. And, naturally, they will realize they are always sovereign. Sovereignty is always within them, and they'll be able to do the same thing to their relatives, to their family, and everyone will grow together as a whole. And that's what we want to do here. I've been holding on to our project the allocation fund, because Tank sort of asked me about it, and I told the chiefs that we want to do this together as a nation. We will go and we'll talk with the people, and we'll see how they want to sort out the problems. If the Fijian, Union Congress would want to do it on their own, or if because after the meeting that day they said they don't want the money to go to the government; it has to come to the people. Just like what we've been talking about, and they all know that, because as soon as it goes to the governments, they don't have control, and they say that all these corruption will continue going on, and we had a really nice meeting, a really good meeting. They were able to understand and process the information. Because I know that it was a lot of information, talking to them about the trust, talking to them about Kim, talking to them about sovereignty. Because some of them are so deep into the corporation, the government. That's all they know. They don't know anything outside of it. And it's a very good lesson to the chiefs that were accompanying me from all the different tribes in Fiji. They were able to see the way people will be able to, or the way people handle this information when it comes out. And so I'm thankful of how everything went down. And tomorrow we'll be meeting again. And the Ken Dunn, it's a really, it's talking about the Galactics. Believe me, the Galactics understand what's happening right now. They've been through this, but in a different probability. So sometimes they will think that it's supposed to happen according to their probability. But like we always mention, then this is a new probability that has never happened before, and we are creating it together, and we will be creating it. And no one, just like how how Tank said that these people, keeping money or keeping gold in a different dimension. This the galactics are from different dimensions. They are like they are us. So they are useless to us now because they are here. They are us. But just because we can connect with them using technology to be able to understand the communication, and they're telling us how to do things here, they are us. They're already here. It's you. It's Ken Dunn. Ken Dunn is the galactics. It's not. There's no one talking to you. It's him from the future. And as soon as they understand that, then they will take this thing and they'll realize the reality they are in. That they are the one creating that reality, and they are the connection to all these different future. And if they want to change this reality, they have to stick to the reality. If they take information from the future, then they have to go to the future because it's useless in this dimension. And the information is it's very important to understand it, because this is how DNA agreement works. If they agree to a DNA in a certain time or a certain dimension, they have to stick to that dimension. If they come here and then they are infringing on the sovereignty of this timeline. And so this is what our collective mind, the Azarata, yeah, something like a time. If you can understand, similar to a cop or a police officer. We are like time police officers, the Azarata Confederacy. Azarata. And we make sure that these agreements stay into place, and we quarantine. It's how we quarantine the planet, and it's how the Great White Throne was able to be removed, and then finally be killed by Kim. It's part of our Azarata agreement. We don't want things that are happening in this planet to infringe in different timelines and to be able to destroy all these different timelines. So what's happening right now is meant to be this way. Sovereignty has to be remembered by everyone on the planet, and this is the only way we're going to do it, by ourselves. If you understand, then if somebody helps us, they will be sovereign, they will become gods, and we'll continue on the slavery system. And then we'll just go on the same loop over and over and over again. And so yeah, then Ken Dunn, a good guy, really good guy, talking with the Pleiades and these other timelines that come from the future. Believe me, they all send their love. We we had communication last night, and they just asked for me to just talk about it and just iron things out and make people understand that we are not different. And then is just slightly ahead in the future. We are doing the groundwork and we are doing the real work as we move along. One day in the future will be real. I will understand that we are just playing our different parts as in a very big picture.
Yeah.
And so
I understand where Kent Dunn is coming from. I got it. I know. I don't have any ill will towards him for saying the things he said. I got it. And I just have love for him and what he's been doing and what he's trying to do. I think he's. I know he's a good guy, and he wants the best thing to happen. He's just not on the same page that we're on right now, and that's okay.
Indeed.
Yeah, we have. It is changing. Things are happening, and it's hard to let go when you've been going down this road for a long time, and you need to reevaluate where you're at. You don't want to ask. You said, no, I'm on the right road. I'm on the right road. Right? And your wife says, go for the direction to get there. No. I'm on the right road, and just keep driving and driving and driving. And they say, come on,
that's true.
You need to ask for directions. No, I know where I'm going. So
yeah,
it's a matter of that. Sometimes we just have to look at knowing that we can be wrong. I was wrong.
It's a three-dimensional perception of things, which is the gift of the body. It's how the three-dimensional illusion works, and that's how it works, because that's how it's created, and that's why we're trying to wake people up to get that attitude or that type of behavior or the way the how these subconscious programs to be able to to be able to make them free from all these they can change. They don't value anything. Like not value. It's very hard for me to explain. To be free, like to be open-minded, because you can say things, but these are all probability. Because especially when you talk about things in the future, these are all probabilities. So it totally depends on the choices and the immediate choices of the people living on the now. And as soon as they choose differently, the future will change, and it will affect different. It will create different timelines. And so, if we can't, have that multidimensional understanding and awareness, and move forward with that kind of awareness, then we'll always be stuck, and we'll always be in a three-dimensional illusion of trying to, plan everything out and follow everything exactly as planned. And you'll be no different from, the cabal and all these people following the same program. And that's how the new future will be created, free, for free will. And I just wanna talk about it a little bit, because all this needs healing. To be able to be healed, we need to talk about it, and understanding will come in. And then, as if someone comes up with the same thing again, the lesson has already been learned. We'll just move forward. In Fiji, that's basically what's happening right now. Sorry, Dan, if you I wasn't listening in today. Was there any update?
No, nothing in particular. It's just that that Kim is moving forward and ready. So that's why I think that this will be a very good week. We should have positive.
What was the sorry? What was Tank's immediate? What the plan? Are you able to discuss it? Because he was talking. I heard he was talking about interviewing people with projects this week. Would you elaborate on that a little bit more?
I know that he's going to be doing reviews of projects on the air to give people, so it's a way of getting people to talk about their projects, and other people can listen in and know what's going on. Say, oh, I could do a project like that. It's so that he's starting that at 8:00, which is an hour before us, before we go on. He's starting that.
Nice.
And reviewing the other projects. But that would be starting tomorrow for him. And for us, it's Monday. We're ahead of time, or the beginning of time.
Yeah, we're from the future. Yeah, so I guess I just want to thank everyone. Thank you, everyone, for the blessings, the love that you've. Everyone on the chat room, thank you so much for for being with us and doing this. So then we'll be doing this until everything is settled.
One more time.
We'll be like the broadcast. You'll be broadcasting, and we'll be doing the show till what time? Till the funds, or we will continue on.
Okay, so Tank kind of committed both of us in a sense. I went along for the ride on that, but he said he's going to do this until the money flows and gets on. We'll do it every day. I said okay, and so we've been doing it now. We're getting to 3 months now, every day broadcast. So it's okay. It's fine. We can we'll continue it. We may change the schedule to maybe it's not every day. maybe we'll take it here and there, but I have no problem with ongoing. I've been doing broadcasts for 3 years. Sometimes I was doing it every day, and sometimes I wouldn't do any for a couple weeks. It just depends on what was going on. So we'll see how it unfolds. I know that when the money is available, there will be a bunch of travel going on, but I think it's a good idea to keep people engaged with what's happening. instead of keeping things in as a secret, and I think everything
Yes,
is open. And so if we're going on a meeting and talking about banking and things like that, then that's a whole other thing. I mean, I've got a group of bankers that I work with that we've been talking about different things on how to develop a blockchain technology, to track information, right? And not about necessarily being a cryptocurrency, but using a blockchain for information. And it's a database. It's a way of accessing a database. And so that would be one of the things to do that would, I think, help establish a network. So I've been working on that. And when those things start unfolding, and when those things are when we need to express that to the people, right? And bring it out in video so people know. And it could be still a daily update. Probably not 2 or 3 hours a day, but maybe we could bring that back to 30 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all right. So, but we're good for today. We're almost at 2 hours and a half. Well, maybe we're over 2 hours. So we can wind down for the day. That's okay. I've got some errands to do.
Oh, yeah.
It's Monday for me, so I'm going to go out and get a couple of things done. But I hope that tomorrow and the next day we're going to see some very interesting things happening.
Yes, indeed. Looking forward to it. Sounds really good. Tomorrow we'll be in Fiji. We'll be doing the meeting with our union congress, the trade union congress of Fiji, and we'll be looking forward to getting a chance to sit down with the government, be able to come up with a solution. We already have a solution and the problem, so we'll just give it to them together. And we'll look, we'll see what we learn from there, and we'll move forward as people decide on what to do with it and what to understand. And anyways, I just want to say thank you so much, Dan. Thank Dan. Thank you so much, the team. Thank you very much for all the hard work and everything that you've done. Thank you, everyone here on the live chat. People listening in live and the listening in the future. Thank you so much, for joining us today. Looking forward to meeting everyone. Everyone is invited as soon as this begins. Please come to Fiji for a vacation, and we'll come and we'll be able to discuss we can have the project interview in Fiji, and where which will be very valuable to the people here, and to the people in the Pacific, and to the people all over the world that comes in with with the awareness, and because I want people to come and learn the legends and how everything has come and how it's kept on the land, and how Fiji has been keeping this in a very very secretive way, or very unknown kind of way, running on the law of the land, and getting protected by the law by our ancestors. And if you want to do that in a country, you'll be able to come and learn it from here, and you'll be able to own your own land, and you'll be able to be sovereign. Is what as what a small part of sovereignty means, to the ownership of where you live. So thank you so much, everyone. Love and blessings from Fiji, and please take care. And I'll maybe talk to you tomorrow, or looking forward to seeing everyone in physical, in true form.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dewey. Thanks to everyone. Please be sure to subscribe, share the video. We need to get the out. That's the best way. Share the video. Give likes. Pound the like button. And we will be back tomorrow and see what's happening. All right, everyone. We will see you tomorrow. Bye bye. Bye, Tui.
Goodbye. Take it easy. Peace.
Indeed.